For this tutorial, I'm going to be talking mainly about those things that you may or may not have gotten from reading the book throughout the semester. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the frame, because the frame is going to cause probably the most problems for most people. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the best practice for actually going through and modeling the frame on this particular piece. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to start with an ellipse. And I'm just going to draw my ellipse up and over, and then I'm going to go ahead and dimension it. Now, based on the dimensions, I know that the dimension from here to the center, or let me go this way, dimension here is half of 12, so it's going to be 6, because it's 12 all the way across. And I know based on the diameter of the upper part of the frame, which is 48, that this dimension here is going to be 24. That's going to give me the upper portion of the frame. So I've got a dimension of 24 here and a dimension of 6 here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this sketch. And then I'm going to click on Origin, and I'm just going to highlight the plane that actually rests on, and then click Plane. And then I'm going to left click and drag down the distance between the top piece and the bottom piece, which is 140. So I should have another plane. I actually wanted that to go down, so let me put negative 140. And then I'll finish that off. Now I need to do a sketch on this plane. And what you're going to notice is the center lines are going to line up as they're supposed to. But I'm going to kind of move this out of the way just a little bit so I can see exactly what's going on. And again, I'm going to do an ellipse down and out like this. And I know that it's 6 here also. The distance that's going to be different is going to be this bottom piece, which is 32, so I need to make this 16. So now when I finish this sketch, I can turn off this plane because I really don't need it anymore. So let me just uncheck the visibility of it. Now I have two pieces that are lined up where they're supposed to be, and they're of the correct size. So now what I can do is go ahead and loft between this one and this one, and then say OK. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to build that piece. Okay, so once we have this piece, the next thing that I want to do is I want to figure out exactly where the edge of this interior piece is. And I know that there's a distance of 3 and the thickness is 12. So half of the thickness is 6, which is going to leave us with 9. So I need to create a plane based off of the plane that cuts this thing in half. And I need to bring it out here 9. And I'm going to go ahead and finish that, and now I can do a sketch on this surface. And realistically what I want to do is just project geometry. I want to project this top line, and I want to project this bottom line. I'm just going to draw a circle up here and a circle down here. Once I have those two circles in place, I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch and extrude this top circle its distance going the other way of 25. Then I'm going to come back in here, share the sketch, and then I'm going to extrude this bottom piece going the same direction, a total distance of 19. I'll say OK, and now I'm going to right click the visibility of the sketch, right click the visibility of the plane. I don't need those two anymore, they can go away. So what I've got right now is I've got one side of this object. And I know that there's 70 between the two sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click plane, grab this face, left click and drag, and bring this out 35. What that's going to do is that's going to give me a midplane so that I can do a mirror of the entire feature. So uncheck visibility, and I'm going to go back to that plane that cuts this thing in half anyway and do a new sketch on it. I'll hit F7 to slice my graphics, and instead of project geometry, I'm going to select project cut edges. What this is going to do is this is going to allow me to draw my I-beam rather quickly because I'll have all of the reference geometry that I actually need to create it already in place. So you can see all I'm doing right now is basically drawing the profile of my I-beam. Now there's some stuff that was automatically created in here. I just want to make sure that this line across the top is horizontal. I want to make sure that this line is horizontal. Okay, those two already exist, so I want to make sure I'm looking straight on at this object. That way there's no confusion whatsoever. Okay, so I need to make this horizontal, and this horizontal, so we'll go to horizontal and select that. Okay, so that lets us know that there's a constraint somewhere that doesn't need to be there. So let me click on this. That perpendicular constraint needs to go away. Now I can click horizontal, select this line, and it's straightened up this side also. I'm also going to grab collinear and set this and this to be collinear, as well as this and this as collinear. Now the other thing that I can do is I can set some equal constraints, and I'm going to want to do equal length here and equal length here. Now I know that it's 4 in the middle here, so I'm going to put a dimension in here of 4. And that's going to set up my distance, and then from here to here is going to be 26. So what I want to do is get my overall 30 in first. That way I don't mess up any of the geometry that I currently have. So there's 30. Okay, you can see that I typed that in wrong, so I want to make sure I go back and hit 30. And see how that throws everything off? That's what I'm trying to avoid happening. So I know that my web thicknesses are all 4, so let me go ahead and put in this 4 here, and I'll put in my 30 now. And I also want a distance in between here and here of 4. Okay, so now this thing is a little bit better organized. Now I can go ahead and put in that dimension right here of 26, and you can see that I get a fully constrained sketch. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this, go to the extrude command, and I'm going to grab that I-beam profile, and I'm just going to say to this, and OK. So now I've got that in there. What I need to do is put in my fillets, and they're all pretty much an R3, and just about everything left on here is nothing but the fillets. So let's go ahead and go to the fillet command for an R3, and I'm going to start selecting objects. And it's you got to be very careful during this particular operation, because it's going to be really easy to create way too many fillets on one single pass. And if you do that, it's probably going to fail a couple of times. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to do this whole interior section right here. I'll apply that. Okay, see, that didn't work, so I want to make my sections a little bit smaller. So radius of 3, and what I'll do is I'll do this line, and this one. I'll just give these 4 fillets in right now and see if that works. And if that works, I'll go ahead and move on to the next set of fillets. The next fillet is this one, this one, this one, and this one, and I'll apply that. Okay, that's the one that's failing out. So in an effort to try to figure out which one is failing, I'll just go ahead and do this shape and this shape and hit apply. That's where the failure is going to occur. Okay, so in situations like this, it may not be possible to get every single fillet in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to do one of these. So even one of those is not going to work. So I have a lot of options that I can do. The one option I can do is remove the interior fillets and then go back to the fillet command and put in these fillets first. And typically what this is going to allow it to do is it calculates the fillets a little bit differently. So I'll go ahead and hit apply, and it still can't calculate the fillet because of the end over here, because it runs right up against the actual object and becomes flush. So to counter that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the fillet command, and I'm going to change my fillet radius to 2, and I'm going to put in the fillets for the outside of this piece. And what this should allow it to do is calculate all of those other little fillets that go in the middle. So once I apply that, it's now no longer running out flush, it actually has something to fill it. So I should be able to change this to 3 and place this fillet, this fillet, this fillet, and basically I'm just going to do all of the fillets inside of here now that it should allow me to do them all. So here I've got all of the fillets in place for one single side, so I'll go ahead and hit apply, and it builds all of those fillets in place for me. Now, just to make life a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this, make sure that I have a plane that cuts everything in half, which is the XZ plane. And now what I'm going to do is go to mirror, and I want to mirror fillet 1 and fillet 2, and my mirror plane is going to be that plane right there. So now, after this is done computing, when I go around to the other side, it should have all of the fillets in that I need. Now, I don't need the visibility of this plane on anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and just turn off the visibility. Now I can begin to place the rest of the fillets that are on this object. So we'll go to fillet, and I know that everything is a 3 from pretty much here on out, so I'll grab these 2 edges. I'll come under here, grab these 2 edges, grab this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, and then I've got my 2 outer rings on both top and bottom. They need to be filleted. So once I have all of that, I'll go ahead and hit apply, and it may take a second, but it should be able to build that entire filleted piece. Now the thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and create the rest of my holes. I know that I've got holes in the bottom. What I'm going to do is I have 2 different sized holes up top, but the 2 holes in the bottom are the same. So I'm going to go to the hole command, and I'm just going to click here and here for my concentric reference. Well, let me change this to concentric. This face, my concentric reference is right here. It has a diameter of 16, and it goes through all. Okay, now that I've got that one in, I want to put in these ones up here, which are 2 different sizes. So I need to start this one by going to the hole command, and I'm just going to grab this face, and this is my concentric reference. This one has a ream of 16 and goes through all. I can go ahead and apply that. This one over here has a 22 ream, so I'll go ahead and apply that. On this side, I need to go ahead and do a sketch to create the keyway, so I'm going to hit F7 to slice my graphics. And the way that I typically like to do the keyways is I just start by drawing a line. And I can see that this is a 1.7 by 3.2 keyway, so 1.7, and then I'm going to come over here and do 3.2. Come back down into here, now I've got that. I can do a horizontal constraint between the midpoint and the center, and now I've got all the geometry that I need for my keyway. So I can now go ahead and extrude this piece through all, and when I switch it to all and cut, it'll automatically flip the direction. So what I have now is I have a completed frame that's going to be used for the actual assembly, which I'll get to in another video.